and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Wouldn't it be amazing to support a skincare company that shares our values and celebrates faith, family, and freedom, and proudly stands behind conservative causes? I have found the perfect skincare brand, and it's called Nimi. Nimi offers simplified daily routines that cleanse, brighten, protect, and help fight the key signs of aging. You can literally just clear out your cabinet and replace all your miscellaneous products with an effective routine from Nimi. Nimi offers clean, effective skincare proudly made right here in the USA that stands strong against the woke, progressive beauty companies that back anti-American causes. Nimi has luxurious skincare for all skin types, offering cleansers, toners, moisturizers, serums, and more. I personally love Nimi's clean line as it offers high-end, clean skincare products that are free from fragrance and other chemicals that may disrupt your skin's natural microbiome. Build a custom bundle and save up to 20% off your routine. Plus, use code LARA, L-A-R-A, for an additional 5% off. That's NimiSkincare.com, N-I-M-I skincare.com, to elevate your routine with America's skincare company, or click the link in the bio to save big on your order and make sure you use promo code LARA today. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View Ladies Tea. We are joined tonight by Editor-in-Chief of the Post Millennial, Libby Emmons, as well as political commentator Stephanie Hamill. And Stephanie, we have to say congratulations. You are expecting again, and tell us what we can expect from your expectation, shall I say.
I'm having a baby girl and I'm so excited.
Yay.
It's still pretty early. I'm still my first trimester, but like I couldn't hold it. And I know people usually keep it private till the second trimester, but yeah, I'm stoked. We have a baby boy right now who's 15 months old, and I think it'll really complete our family, and maybe we'll have more later, but we'll see. We'll see how I handle the 2 under 2 for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a breath with 2. Libby, we can probably speak to it. It starts to get crazy, but I think it's so great. We love to hear good news like that. And I don't know how people wait to find out what they're having. You know, you're saying you had a hard time even keeping it in. I can't imagine. I have friends who wait until the baby's born to learn. I mean, I get that that's how it used to operate, but I don't know. Libby, did you know what you were having before you had your kids?
Yeah, I did. They told me, right? They told me as soon as they know. I didn't even ask.
Yeah. Oh.
But I didn't mind. I mean, it made it easier to imagine my life with my child. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, good news. We love to hear good news. Some bad news, obviously, that we got on Sunday. What a time we're living through right now. I got to be honest. The idea that I'm here on Tuesday talking about another assassination attempt on the life of my father-in-law, our 45th, and I believe our 47th president, Donald Trump, is mind-boggling. It's unbelievable. And Stephanie, you know, I found out probably a little before everybody else. My husband called me on Sunday, and he literally just said they tried to do it again. And I mean, my entire body went like numb. Just like it's horrifying. And I think my big takeaway, look, I'm going to go ahead and say kudos to the Secret Service this go around. The fact that you had a Secret Service agent in a golf cart recognize a barrel sticking out of a hedge of bushes is miraculous to me. Truly miraculous. I don't know that most people would have seen that. And obviously we averted and subverted a disaster, a possible disaster. But the fact that we're here again, and the fact that it really kind of feels a little ho-hum to me. Like, people really have kind of already moved on. This was 2 days ago. They're already kind of moving on. Not a lot was made about it. You have people like Alexander Vindman's wife coming out and saying no ears were harmed today. Everybody move along. It is really concerning that this is where we are in the United States of America. What's your takeaway been in the 48 hours since all of this happened?
Yeah, my initial reaction was like, how is this happening again?
Yeah.
God bless Donald Trump and his whole family. You guys have been through so much. No family should have to go through this. There should never be political violence in this country. And it just kind of sounds like the third world. This is what you expect in the third world, not in America. And you're so right. The reactions to this from some folks on the left, it's really despicable. I mean, even Hillary Clinton came out, and instead of, calming America and telling people we need to come together and we got to stop the rhetoric, she doubles down and calls Trump a threat to democracy again. And, if you look at this man's rhetoric, the man who attempted to, we don't really know exactly, but, he was there with a gun hiding in the bushes for 12 hours. His posts on social media echoed the same posts of the left, who constantly call your father-in-law Hitler and a threat to democracy and all of these other hateful things. It's like, what do you expect people to do? If they really think that Donald Trump is Hitler, and you keep doing this over and over again, what do you think the end result of that is going to be? It's not going to be good. And so, it is really devastating how some people react to this. Obviously, there have been people who've crossed the aisle and admit that this is wrong, and that the Secret Service in general, this needs to be looked at a little bit closer. We still have so many questions about what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. No answers there. And it's like, why? We need answers. And then now this, and obviously the Secret Service agent who saw the Ryan Roth with the AK-47. Thank God for this Secret Service agent.
Thank God.
But how did it even get to this point where a man's running around, hiding in bushes 12 hours beforehand? It seems like there could be something done to stop that in advance.
Yeah, I mean, we do still have a lot of questions, Libby. We still don't have answers for Butler, Pennsylvania. And you heard Richard Blumenthal, who's no friend to Donald Trump for sure politically, and not a fan of his at all, come out last week and say, when people find out what we've learned, what Congress has learned, they are going to be shocked. When the American public finds out what we've learned about Butler and the failures there, they're going to be shocked. The fact that then you had this guy hiding, as Stephanie just described, in the bushes outside the golf course for some 12 hours leading up to this. And this was a bit of a weird setup anyway. Donald Trump wasn't supposed to be there. It's just, I don't know that we'll get answers to Butler, I'll be honest. And I don't know that we'll get all the answers we need here. At least this guy's alive. At least we can talk to him. But what are your expectations, Libby? What do you think?
Yeah, I certainly hope that we get some more information out of this guy. He was only charged with 2 counts of federal gun charges, and that was pretty much it. So I think that's sort of surprising. I don't think that's really enough. Once we find out, what his real intentions were, it certainly seems like the charges should be more than just gun charges. That's what they charge Hunter Biden with gun charges, and that's pretty much it. It's kind of weak. But my first reaction actually on Sunday came with the media's response as to what was really going on here, and they blamed Donald Trump for the second assassination attempt on his life. They blamed him for it. And we have seen over the past few days, J.D. Vance defending his running mate, right? Defending Donald Trump, who he hopes to serve with in the White House, from these attacks that are claiming that Trump's rhetoric is responsible for, for this second attempt. And I think that is absolutely shocking and truly disgusting on the part of the American media. And it's come from across the board. It's come from MSNBC. We've seen it come out of the White House. They talk about his rhetoric, even as Biden called Trump to basically check in and see how he was doing. We're still seeing this kind of language coming from Democrats, from elected officials. And this has been years and years in the making of this kind of elaborate, hyperbolic conversation about how Donald Trump is just incredibly dangerous. We even had Hillary Clinton on Rachel Maddow last night bringing this up. And what I don't understand is I'm seeing the same policies. I'm seeing the same rallies. I'm seeing the same speeches as everyone else. I'm seeing the same interviews with this man as everybody else. And I'm not seeing this horrifying danger to democracy. Instead, what I see is someone who's looking to ensure our national sovereignty, secure our borders, make sure that Americans get first crack at the American dream, which I think that anyone born here with that birthright deserves. That opportunity. All of our kids deserve that opportunity. He's looking to strengthen the economy. So I don't see what this danger is. And I wish that it would be spelled out in some way that we can actually understand instead of just all of this rhetoric. But it never will be, because it's actually just fake news. It's just rhetorical, hyperbolic nonsense. And that's why they keep using these kinds of terms, because they don't have any basis for their accusations.
It's actually amazing to me just his general ability to stay in the race, to continue on. I look at, there's just been so much that's happened in the course of a couple of months, right? I mean, think back to June 27th. Don't forget about that debate with Joe Biden, right? That wasn't that long ago. Then you had the attempted assassination in Butler. You had our convention. We've had Joe Biden dropping out days after the end of our convention via X. Then Kamala Harris being plugged in, all of the media hype and hysteria around her, the DNC. You've had a debate now and a second assassination attempt. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris had their debate, which we're going to talk about in a minute. It is wild, the cycle that we're in right now, but maybe that's why people can't even focus on what's really going on and what's really at hand here. But I give Donald Trump incredible credit, because I think one of the things that he's been through in the past 2 years, I'm going to say, would have been enough for anyone else. This man has had 4 indictments, a mugshot, 2 assassination attempts against him, and he is still in this race. 34 felony counts, $92 million fee he had to pay for some woman he's never met before, $500 million via Letitia James. All of it is just,
She's
insane.
Nuts. She's out of control, Letitia James.
Oh.
Did you see Chris Cuomo today? Chris Cuomo was like backing Trump. Perhaps not politically, but certainly in terms of man-to-man conversation, he was.
Yes. And I believe Chris Cuomo and Donald Trump had a conversation yesterday. And I think it's really nice that people are actually talking about the fact there's a human being on the other side of the persona of Donald Trump. Because, he's real. He's a human. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a grandfather. And all of this stuff is it's outrageous and disgusting. And the fact that he's still in this race, a man who's lost zeros at the back of his net worth, who's, they're trying to kill him, literally trying to kill him. They try to do everything else to him, at least from the left. I'm not going to, surmise who's trying to kill him, but I'll leave that up to the experts. It's remarkable that this man is still in the fight, but he's still in the fight. And that takes me to the debate last week. This was a situation, Stephanie, that debate, if you can even call it that I think was so obvious to anyone who watched it. There was never any space ABC News was going to give Donald Trump a fair debate. Let's just call it for what it is. 3-on-1, Kamala Harris with her rehearsed lines. Clearly, she knew a lot of the subject matter that would be covered, and they gave her lines to rehearse, and she performed those lines very well. The flowery language, the ability that the moderators had to fact check only Donald Trump, not one fact check on Kamala Harris, despite her saying a lot of lies. Charlottesville hoax came up. Project 2025 twice came up. She tried to use the bloodbath hoax again. Donald Trump, of course, talking about vehicles and energy with the bloodbath. Trump abortion ban, not a real thing. Donald Trump doesn't want IVF, also fake, also a lie. They didn't fact check her on a single thing, Stephanie. And they attacked Donald Trump for 90 minutes straight. He had to defend himself. And it was really a shame to me, because there wasn't a single American who watched that debate and said, oh, I learned a lot. Man, I really know the candidates now. I have their policies down. And what's most interesting to me is that you had those CNN kind of watch panels. I believe CNN, and I think Reuters did another one. And CNN, for example, had 10 people who were independents, who were undecided as they went into that debate. And coming out of the debate, 6 of the 10 undecided said, I'm voting Trump. 3 are voting Harris, and 1 is undecided still. And what that tells me is that although they gave her every sort of life raft possible, Kamala Harris still failed to do the necessary thing in that debate, which was convince the American people that she could actually be president. Did you think that they were going to give her a fair debate, Stephanie? Everybody warned us and said it's going to be unfair. They're going to attack him. And indeed they did. Did you ever think there was a space where ABC News, sadly, I have to say it, ABC News could give Donald Trump a fair debate?
100% no. I
Yeah.
didn't think it was going to be a fair debate. And there was reason to think this. I mean, even I believe it was like a week before the debate came out, the Media Research Center did a study. They analyzed over 100 reports on Harris jumping into the race, and it was 100% positive. Like, I can't think of a candidate who has received this type of favorable coverage in my, lifetime, or at least working in journalism. And, negative, I think it's a negative coverage 93% of the time for Donald Trump. So he was definitely going into the lion's den. But you think these journalists would at least try to, save their credibility or prove people wrong. And of course they didn't. And you perfectly described it, that they threw the life rafts out for Harris. And it was like 3 against 1 in regards to like the questions and the fact checks and everything else. People are still talking about it because it's so unfair. And you like pointed out all the lies that she spewed on the stage. And again, no fact check. And, the questions that they like teed up and served to Harris was to benefit her. They didn't give Donald Trump that luxury on the stage. Instead, they tried to make him look bad. In fact, they misled on January 6th, almost trying to suggest that Trump suggested that people should go, do whatever they did at the Capitol. And so, Donald Trump corrected them. But, it's just unethical what they did during the debate. Again, totally expected it. And I think Donald Trump handled it really well. Harris was robotic. She was scripted. And I think that's why it didn't move the needle. And again, she didn't answer the questions. How is it that she's moderate Harris, just a few weeks after she announces she's running for president, when she's shown that she's been a radical leftist all these years? I think we should believe her track record and the things that she says. And she continues to say that her values haven't changed.
Yep.
So therefore, she might try to spin what she really believes in right now and confuse voters, but we know how she would actually operate if she were in the White House as president of the United States.
Well, let me just go ahead and give you a little rundown on Kamala Harris and what she actually does believe, Libby, and then I'm going to let you comment on this. And my question, Libby, really is, I think for you, as I'm reading through this, how much impact do you think that that debate had truly on people and how much of their decision was swayed by it? Kamala Harris on the economy, she wants to increase the corporate tax rate, increase estate taxes, tax unrealized gains, and she gave us no plan in terms of how she would actually improve the economy right now. Border, she called it Trump's medieval vanity project. I was at the southern border last night in Yuma, Arizona. I saw the border wall with my own eyes, and I saw the failure of Kamala Harris to even erect the prefabricated metal pieces that go up and could go in these areas where there are holes in the border where people are still coming over. We saw trucks of people last night being bussed in and having to walk across the desert. We know all about that. And I'm going to talk much more about my trip to the border very soon. She wants to decriminalize border crossings, abolish ICE, and wants health care for illegals. Wants to ban fracking, wants to get rid of the filibuster to pass the Green New Deal. She's talked about that before. Electric vehicle mandate. She wants Medicare for all. We all know that. She was talking about defunding the police. She believes in cashless bail. You look at her home state, Libby, of California, where you don't actually get any penalty if you go and steal things if they are less than $950. $950. You don't, zero punishment. No one cares in California. It's amazing. One of the mandatory gun buyback, of course. She's been in favor in the past of abolishing the Electoral College and has also been open to packing the Supreme Court. Would have been nice, Libby, to hear anybody press Kamala Harris on those things. I'm going to say the likes of David Muir and Lindsey Davis. We didn't get that. We didn't get one question about any of those things for Kamala Harris. Maybe the economy question, which she danced around and didn't give an answer to. After hearing all of that, do you think that people were really swayed by anything that Kamala Harris said in that debate? How'd you feel about it? Are you struggling to sleep at night? Have you heard of Sleep Cream? Sleep Cream is a revolutionary new product made of all natural ingredients and with pure CBD. You simply rub it on sensitive skin areas right before bed. You will feel relaxed in a matter of minutes and you will get the best sleep you've had in years. I know I have. You may have heard all kinds of mixed messages about CBD, but Sleep Cream only uses pharmaceutical grade pure CBD crystals with 0 THC, and it's made right here in the USA. So if you want an all natural way to sleep better, you must try Sleep Cream. Best of all, it's guaranteed to work or your money back. No questions asked. Just try it for yourself, and with its 100% money back guarantee, you have nothing to lose except more sleepless nights. Go to sleepcream.com, that's sleepcreme.com, and you can use code November24 at checkout to save $24 on your first order. If you're ready for the best sleep ever, go to sleepcream.com, that's sleepcreme.com. You've asked and MyPillow listened. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. Right now, you can get the queen size premium MyPillow for only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill, and it adjusts to your exact individual needs, regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets for only $25, the brand new mattress topper for as low as $69.98, and their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. Go to mypillow.com or call 800-624-3945 and use promo code TRUMP to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That is the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today and use promo code TRUMP.
No, I mean, what they really had to ask her about, though, Laura, was her identity. That was the most important thing to them, was her identity and
Very
abortion.
important.
Those are the only things that they actually care about. And that is what they are hoping voters will use to determine that they're going to vote for her. They are hoping that they look at her and they see a strong Black woman who's pro-abortion and that they're just going to cast their votes for her. I don't think, however, that what she said on the debate stage could actually aid people in thinking they should vote for her. If anything, it seemed like, it would encourage people to vote against her. The immediate reaction to that debate was that Kamala won that night, right? That was like the immediate talking point, was like, oh, she did so amazing. And that's because the bar was so incredibly low that her, standing there and actually being able to answer questions without some kind of, anxiety meltdown was huge. But by the next morning, it became clear that she hadn't actually said anything of any value or merit whatsoever. And as you start to look at the transcript, which I would encourage everyone to do, not to listen to these things, but to actually just read the words that were said, you can start to really see that there's no substance to her answers. She doesn't have any real answers as to how she would fix these huge problems. And in fact, when she was appointed border czar in March 2021, by June, her office was trying to distance herself from that anyway. And they were trying to pull her off it and reframe her as, the abortion VP instead. And she successfully managed to do that until now, when people are trying to really hold her accountable. And in fact, her administration has been suing states to prevent them from erecting their own border walls. The Biden-Harris administration believes that this is against federal law. They would rather have the borders be wide open. And they show us that with every lawsuit, with every policy, with every reversal of the executive orders that were in place to secure the border. And I think it's important that people realize that every year since Kamala and Joe got in the White House, over 2 million illegal immigrants have come in. And that's not just, border crossers, you have more than that as well. You have all of these programs that allow refugees and asylum seekers and whatever else to come in and live here. And under Trump, during his last year in office, 2020, 480,000 illegal immigrants came in. 480,000. That's less than 500,000. That's the number. Now, he used Title 42 and whatever else, but that's the number. And now we have 2 million, over 2 million. every year. And this program that's allowing in Haitians, Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, you have a lot of gang members coming in from Venezuela. This program was put on pause by DHS because of the massive fraud that was being undertaken, with only 3,200, I think, sponsors in the country bringing in, hundreds of thousands of people at fake addresses and with fake names and all of this. They put a pause on it. They said, and then they said, just a little bit after that, this was in August and it's already back going again. They said, oh, now we have a better vetting process. Really? Where'd you get that? So I think that if Americans look at what was said, if they read it, if they use their own judgment, they will, come to the conclusion that Kamala Harris is standing for absolutely nothing except, as we said, her identity, abortion, and perhaps working at McDonald's one summer.
So
Can I
she
jump
says,
in on the asylum seeker and refugee? It's like a lot of these people don't really qualify is the problem. Like they have completely rearranged how you would qualify for those programs in the first place. And that's why we're getting so many people who are coming in trying to use that as their reason to be here. And so again, that's something that needs to be looked at.
There's a lot that needs to be looked at. As I mentioned previously, I just got back like an hour or two ago from literally Yuma, Arizona, from the southern border. It was quite a trip. It's quite a journey to get there, especially from Southeast Florida, I'll tell you that. But it was worth going because I got to see a lot and I got to learn a lot. And not only did we go, we went in the middle of the night last night. So I'm on no sleep, which is probably why I look so good. We went in the middle of the night because that's oftentimes when you have these massive groups of people who are coming over the border. And indeed, we saw in the distance, there were trucks dropping off the illegal migrants. And these are the cartel. They are now trafficking human beings, and people are paying between $8,000 and $20,000 per person to get over the United States southern border. And as I mentioned, they have sections of the wall that are open. Now, Donald Trump's border wall, for people who haven't seen it up close, seems rather impenetrable. I don't know how anyone could actually get over that wall. It is unscalable, save for having some massive ladder, which we know Tim Wall says if the wall is 30 feet tall, he's going to build a 31-foot ladder to help people get over it. But it really is a great structure. You can see through it, so you can see what you're dealing with on the other side. But there are massive piles in this one area of prefabricated metal border wall that just has to be stood up. That's all they would have had to do. But because Joe Biden made a promise that said, when he said, I won't build one more foot of Trump's border wall when he was running for president, he couldn't do that. So they have, in the really bad areas, had to concede, yes, a wall works, and yes, we have to put something up. It is a completely different temporary wall that they have erected in some of these areas. But I think whenever I was there prior to going physically down there to the border overnight, what I really was focused on was the impact in the community there of Yuma. And their hospital is so overrun with migrants coming in that when women are having babies, Stephanie, don't go back to Yuma because you're not going to be able to have a baby in the hospital there. They have to drive to Phoenix, or they have to drive to San Diego. Phoenix is a 3-hour drive. I drove yesterday from Phoenix to Yuma yesterday afternoon. San Diego is about 2.5 hours away. So imagine a woman in labor and you live there in Yuma, Arizona. You cannot have your baby there. They don't have any room. No room at the end, no room at the hospitals for you. They have a center there that is for women who have been sexually assaulted, who are victims of domestic violence, children who have been sexually assaulted or abused, and they really cannot keep up with demand. They are 24 hours a day. They process people at a rapid rate, and the statistic that we all hear that 30% of the women who take that journey north through our southern border are sexually assaulted. The people at this facility said that is very low, that it's probably more like 50% plus of the women get sexually assaulted. There's a tree on the other side of the border wall. They call it the rape tree. I saw it last night. You can imagine what happens there. It's so much worse than anything imaginable when you actually go down there and you see it with your own eyes. And the the disappointment I have as a citizen of this country and our current administration for failing to do the basic duty of keeping us safe as a country. They are putting these people through hell who are coming up through our southern border. They have given them the incentive to come here with $10,000 debit cards, with flights and buses across the country, flying some of them in. It is outrageous. I could not believe the things that I saw and heard being in Yuma, Arizona yesterday and yesterday evening. It is horrific, and it is shameful that Kamala Harris was tasked with this. They had 8,800 crossings in Yuma, Arizona in 2021, illegal border crossings. By the time Kamala became border czar, that jumped up to 116,000. The next year, 320,000. It has continued to increase exponentially. And until we get someone like Donald Trump in that office, in that White House, who understands how to apply the law as written, you don't need Congress to pass anything. We are going to continue to see this country hurt by way of fentanyl. We're going to see women raped and sexually assaulted, children sexually assaulted and raped coming up through the southern border, children used as pawns to get men, military-aged men in. They hold a kid with them, and the Border Patrol agents say, yeah, we see some of these kids 4 or 5 times. We know it's the same kid. They use them over and over and over again. These are 4 and 5-year-old kids. It's disgusting. And I know that's a bit of a rant, but I was very moved by what I saw last night and experienced. And I'll tell you what, Libby, I don't know how a single person could vote for Kamala Harris after having heard what I heard, seen what I saw yesterday, and knowing that she intentionally, alongside Joe Biden, have allowed this to fester and happen. It's a plague on this country. And it is something that we are going to be devastated from by way of terrorists and other activity already with the fentanyl if we are not careful.
Yeah, what's interesting is you say that they've allowed this to happen, but they haven't just allowed it, they've encouraged it.
Right.
They rolled back executive orders that were in place to prevent this kind of thing. And they use this concept that it's only compassionate to allow illegal immigrants to cross the border and come into the United States. But it's not compassionate to the women and children who are, as you said, raped and abused, who are coming in. It's not compassionate to Americans, and it's certainly not compassionate to the nations that are experiencing a huge drain of people who could perhaps help their own countries become better places to live. And that's one of the things that Kamala Harris was supposed to be doing as the border czar. She was supposed to be getting investment of big multinational companies into these countries to create jobs and create, better situations for the people in those countries so that they don't have to leave. And she didn't do any of that. She hasn't helped the people where they live, and she hasn't helped Americans. And instead they just say, come on in, everything will be better here. And it's becoming, harder for Americans, and it's certainly becoming harder for these illegal immigrants. And we've seen that too in Chicago. There's been interviews with Venezuelans who are saying, you know what, it sucks here. I would really like to go home. And Venezuela doesn't want to take them back. And there aren't any ways to reverse this whole situation. You had Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS secretary, speaking at the Texas Tribune Festival earlier in September, saying that he does not think that deportation is good policy. And he used the example of a potentially Venezuelan illegal immigrant saying, they get to the border and then what? How are we supposed to send them back? Where are they supposed to go? And the idea is that we should not be in the position to have to make that decision for everyone in the world who decides they want to show up at our border. That should not be a decision that we need to make for every national of every nation who thinks that they would rather come here. And we don't know what their intentions are. And as you said, many of the men who show up, they show up with children. We don't know where these children are from. And because the policy going back to Obama was that if an unaccompanied child shows up at the border, they can just automatically come in, we see more unaccompanied children showing up. We don't know if these children are sent by their parents or kidnapped or trafficked or what. And because then there was the Flores agreement, which people can look up, determined that even if a child is not unaccompanied, they should be automatically released, and so should the person who is with them. And that's how we end up with this ridiculous situation where, as you said, 4- and 5-year-olds are being used repeatedly to escort grown men into the country to do whatever it is that they want and wait for years for an asylum hearing. And then, of course, what happens after that? Let's say they're not approved. ICE isn't going to deport them anyway. So we end up with these people permanently here, and it's as though we're just waiting for a mass amnesty from a Democrat president to enshrine all of these people here, which would then create what? More illegal migration into the US.
It's a mess, Stephanie. It's a mess. 325,000 kids who are just gone. No one knows where they went. They came here either, unaccompanied, with families, were separated. I don't know how they all ended up here, but somehow they did. These drug traffickers and human traffickers use them as well to get in. The whole thing is such a disaster. And I will be honest, I really did not expect to see the things that I saw and hear the stories that I heard down there. It's awful. And yeah. I am just very, very hopeful that people take this election seriously. You cannot have a country without borders. And I think the scariest part of all of it to me is the fact that we continue to see people come into this country. At least some of them are caught, but I'm sure there are many who are not, who are on the terror watch list, who come from countries where they hate the United States of America and want to see our demise. That to me is the scariest possibility in the near future here in the United States. And I wouldn't be surprised if before this election we saw something awful happen. And I hate saying something like that, but you feel it.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much to unpack, and you're so right about the lack of compassion for human life, and especially these children that are missing. And if you just look at the communities that have to absorb all of this illegal immigrant traffic, like Yuma, Arizona, it's a small town. I think like 200,000 people live there. I lived there for 2.5 years when I had my first CBS job. It was an affiliate. I covered the desert Southwest, and the border problems were an issue then, but I can't even imagine how bad it is at this point. I had done some interviews with the mayor and the sheriff over the years, and they were explaining like their community can't handle this. And so the Democrats in liberal areas, they don't want illegal immigrants or refugees or asylum seekers in their area. And we know this very well because of what happened in Martha's Vineyard. If you send migrants there, they'll send them back out within 24 hours because they don't have the resources. But what about these towns like Yuma, Arizona, where it's very middle class or a low income, where they don't have the resources for this? I mean, it's just such a burden. And as Libby pointed out, yes, the Biden-Harris administration has encouraged this. And Harris, speaking of Harris, she compared ICE to the KKK. She said it wasn't a crime to cross the border illegally. What type of message does this send? And then think about her associates from California who recently at the legislature tried to pass a bill where they would offer $150,000 to illegal immigrants to purchase their first home. This was not awarded to, or even the discussion wasn't for like Americans and Californians who already live there. No, this is just a program for illegal immigrants. Governor Newsom did actually veto that, obviously politically motivated, because he probably thought it would make Harris look bad if people realized how crazy Democrats were. But yeah, I mean, it's just they're handing out flights, like they were doing flights into the U.S.
They're flying them in. They were flying
and then
people in.
It's rather interesting where they send a lot of the migrants. By the way, they send them to red towns like Springfield, Ohio.
Right.
That town where they sent the 20,000 Haitians, it's like they vote like 70% Republicans. It's like, why do they send them there? Why don't they send them to, quote, sanctuary cities and to the areas where liberals, are constantly virtue signaling and saying that, people from around the world are welcome here. They are, but there's a process for that. Yes. And as for the border wall that you were talking about that wasn't used, the Democrats have created this narrative that border walls are racist, and they're not. I will tell you, my mom is from Mexico. She was born and raised there. Half my family lives in Mexico. None of us think a border wall is racist. We think it's good policy. And Border Patrol agents who are out there risking their lives and protecting our border every single day talk about how it's necessary. It's not the only thing that we need. There's technology. They need more manpower. They need more resources, but it is certainly helpful in areas where there's high foot traffic.
Yep. Walls work. That's why Biden and Harris built one to finish off an area of Donald Trump's. Ladies, there's so much more going on, but I want to say thank you to both of you, to Libby and Stephanie, for joining us here for another great episode of The Right View. To everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And we will see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.